All right, to set up this optic, first thing you want to do is set up your ocular lens. Your ocular lens controls your eyepiece focus and a focus on your reticle. So to do that, I'll loosen my locking ring, and then looking through the optic at a clear object, the best thing to look at is the sky. I'm going to turn my ocular ring or my ocular housing either in or out in order to focus the reticle in until the reticle is as sharp and clear as I can possibly get it. What that does is it allows it to remain focused on the target, and it also allows me to look at it without eye strain, because if it's out of focus, my eye is constantly trying to bring it into focus. All right, and it's causing undue eye strain. Once I do that, the next thing, once the optic's set up with proper eye relief, set up to the shooter, is I want to adjust my parallax knob. Parallax knob is on the left-hand side. All right, the parallax knob will focus the target in downrange, whatever I'm looking at, and it will move parallax. So I'd first set my parallax knob until the object or the target is in clear focus. All right, from that point, down behind the rifle, without disturbing the rifle, once I have the eyepiece in focus, or once I have my target in focus, now without disturbing the rifle, I'm going to shift my head right and left and up and down slightly and make sure that the optic, or the reticle and the target will both move. They'll move inside of the optic and move what I can see, but they should be on the same plane. They should move together. The reticle should stay center mass on the target. If it doesn't, then I'll make a slight adjustment with my parallax knob and check it again. And I'll continue doing that until I've achieved the proper parallax adjustment and I don't have that movement anymore. Once we do that, then we're ready to start the zeroing process. Here we're going to zero them at 300 yards. The reason we're zeroing them at 300 yards is with the 118 LR ammo, which is their primary combat load, it's giving them maximum point blank range out to about 350 yards, which for an SDM, what that means is that they aim center mass, point and shoot. They don't have to make any adjustments on the optic. So it's a very, very fast, very effective way to engage targets. Beyond 350, when they get out to 400 and beyond, they have to start moving. They either have to use a hold off or they have to use a come up. Come up involves turning the elevation knob and adjusting it for the trajectory of the round. So when they move from zeroing, they can move it up to engage targets at different yardages, and they can always move back to their starting point, which is the 0 point, the 300 yard zero. One of the reasons why we're zeroing at 300 yards is because my elevation turret is in minutes of angle. One click is 1 minute. So with the trajectory chart, the trajectories, the minute angle come ups for the different yardages are as close to being on an even minute as possible. So by just clicking in 1 minute at a time, they can get as close as they possibly can to a true zero at that distance. It also has a BDC, or bullet drop compensator, in the elevation knob. I can set that for 300 yards, and then I can dial it into various yardages out to 1,000 yards. The second method is hold-offs. Hold-off is where they're using the mil-dot reticle inside of the scope and using those mil-dots for different aiming points. So instead of using the center point or the crosshair of the reticle, they may use the first, second, third, or fourth mil-dot below it to adjust their point of aim for different trajectory. It's a little faster method in order to engage targets, and they're not moving their elevation turret. It keeps them from having to maybe forget and not come back to zero. And it's a very fast way, especially if they're engaging targets at various distances. If they have multiple targets at various distances, they can simply use a hold-off. That's pretty much it.
Go over the power in the first plane.
Oh, all right. The power, when they're zeroing and when they're actually using this optic to range, using the mil-dot reticle. This optic is Leupold Mark IV, 3.5 to 10, and it has an M3 reticle in it, which means a straight mil-dot reticle. Because it is a variable power scope, This scope is a second focal plane reticle. All right, on a second focal plane optic, my mil dots are only true mil dots in one power setting, in this case on 10 power or maximum power. If it was a first focal plane reticle, then I could range and I could use hold-offs at any distance or at any power setting. All right? The reason for that is, in a first focal plane, as I'm adjusting my power, my reticle is getting larger or smaller in relation to my target. So 1 mil is always 1 mil no matter what power setting I'm on. With a second focal plane reticle like this Leupold Mark IV, it's not. As I adjust my power, my reticle does not move, does not change size in relationship to my target. So at 3.5 power, 1 mil is not going to be 1 mil. So I can't range at that power, use my mil relation formula, and I cannot use a hold off on that power. All right, so maybe it's not really a plus or a minus, good or bad, but it is something that the shooters need to be aware of when they're actually ranging and engaging targets. The upside to this is at 10 power, you're at maximum power setting, you have great target definition, and you have the largest, most magnified target that you can get, and makes it easier to fit inside of that mil dot reticle.